Welcome to the Ken Hill Podcast. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Appreciate the people that have commented. I appreciate the people that have donated as well. Hey, you guys are leaving give me some recommendations like on iTunes and stuff because that stuff does help. It helps bring in the big bucks. I'm joking. So this podcast is a fairly simple one. It's double apex corners. And I want to kind of continue this theme we've had over the last few podcasts about sort of what we talk about as being simple topics. Yeah, we need to talk about them because even though this one's it's sort of been on my list and I didn't have a ton of notes on it, it wasn't until I heard it explained at a track day not too long ago, and I thought, holy, you know what? That's just wrong. And a very overthought, almost profound way of thinking about it. I'm thinking, holy, no, you've just completely, screwed over the client because now he doesn't understand what the hell's going on. So, part of these podcasts are to take things that are simple and get you to understand them in a simple way. Boom, you're done. Don't have to worry about it anymore, and you don't have to listen to any of the crap that's out there, and you can go on to something else in your writing that's happening. So. Double apex corners. Double apex corners are when the radius of the corner is large enough to where you can have essentially a separate entry procedure and a separate exit procedure. Typically, we're going to find those in corners that are about 180 degrees. Sometimes slightly less than that. Absolutely, if they're more than that. And I'm going to give you guys and gals some ways to be able to think about what are some of the report cards for that. So it's pretty much as simple as that. We want to have, if the radius of the corner is large enough that it merits a separate entry procedure and merits a separate exit procedure, we're going to double apex them. When it comes to the degrees, around 180 degrees, sometimes less than that, but absolutely more than that. And I think part of the confusion comes from the way tracks are numbered or lettered or named, where they may take a single corner, turn 8, and even though turn 8 is a gigantic long 180, it's still turn 8. So people think of it as maybe one type of a corner, where really it's 8 or 8A or 8A and 8B. They're two corners. Or you'll have tracks that will take some of these corners and they will make them a 6 and a 7 or whatever it may be. But look at a track map, look at a satellite image and look for these 180s, these corners that are connected together that equal 180 degrees. And that's how you're going to be able to determine it. I want to make sure I'm careful about that. It's when these corners are more linked together that there's really no straightaway in between them. So that's how we're going to look at how we're going to double apex corners. It's having a separate entry procedure for the entry part and a separate exit procedure for the exit part. Once you understand that, it's going to make your life a lot easier. Oh, I have a separate entry segment and a separate exit segment. When we look at corners like this, just like we look at a lot of other corners, we need to look at the exit first, because that determines our bike placement at the entry. So where do we want the bike ready to exit? Where do we want to have the bike position to have the best exit off these corners? And then we're going to adjust our slow point of the corner, where the slow point is for the exit. And that then determines your entry. So I want you to be able to think about it that way. So how am I going to maximize my exit? Is it an increasing, does the radius increase on the exit? Okay, great. Then I draw my line backwards. I go, oh yeah, the slow point's right there where, it's a decreasing radius exit. And then I have to adjust where the slow point is for that corner. So that's how we look at it. And then we're going to link up our entry to match up where that slow point is. So it is pretty much that simple. And the other thing that we want to take a look at with this is what comes before and what comes after some of these corners as well. So how you enter some of these corners is determined on what comes before it. Because sometimes we'll see a 180 that has a fast section coming after it. And if we want to maximize the fast section there and there's not time to bring the bike back over for a big, nice wide entry, you'll enter that 180, maybe low, but of course you're still going to have a good slow point for the exit. Or just as if you do have the time to open it up, you're going to do your best to open it up so you can maximize that radius as well. So this one, I mean, honestly, that's really about it. There's really not too much to this one. The report cards for these double apex corners are: one, where's your slowest point of the corner? That's it. Where's your slow point? And once again, you're going to draw it backwards to find out where your slow point is. Now you can start looking at how much neutral throttle do you have. And once you determine how much neutral throttle you have, then you can start to adjust your brake application for that corner, whether it's your initial braking, your end of braking, and then you can look at your turn-in point and your turn-in rate. That maximizes your overall speed to the slowest point. So a lot of it's dependent on that. The one thing that I do want to talk about a little bit on this topic as well, and it happens a little bit more, the difference between the big bikes and the small bikes, which is there are corners where you may, quote, miss your apex a little bit on some of the exits. And a lot of it has to do with bike size as well. So there will be an apex. You just might be off the apex a little bit on some of the smaller bikes because either the radius dictates it. I can tell you right now, like for instance, going clockwise at Chuckwalla in the bowl. On a small bike, you're going to be 2 or 3 feet off the apex because the acceleration zone starts so early on that one. And if you try to get a more defined line down there, well, you waste more time doing that than the overall acceleration is on the bike. But on the bigger bikes, yeah, you're absolutely going to have a defined apex there because you're trying to maximize how straight of a line that you want off of that corner as well. So on the entry, you're pretty much always going to be right smack on that apex. There's no reason to be off the apex because the further that you can drive the bike in, the straighter up and down that you'll be and you want to be to maximize your contact patch. And then that's what's going to lead to you adjusting for the slow point to the corner right there. So there are a few little nuances with that, but not too many. So double apex corners. See, I'm not even talking that long on this one. It's not that bad. This is one that you can definitely listen to at going to the track. So double apex corners. We're going to find them wherever there's a 180 degree corner, sometimes a little bit less. We're going to find them always out, if it's 180 degrees or more. And the thought process is we need to separate these two corners, thinking the entry, right? We want to maximize the entry procedure. So when it comes to these double apexes, pretty much you're always going to make the entry part an entry corner and the exit part an exit corner. And then what you're trying to do is link up your slowest part of the corner based on what that exit offers. So really think about that. The goal of a 180 is where is the bike placed to maximize your exit. And then you can adjust the entry for that based on, again, your speed, the radius of the corner, how much grip there is, size of the bike, all those different things. And the real report card is how much neutral throttle you have. And then you can start to pencil that off with where you're letting off the brake. There are corners some of these big corners where you're going to have a lot of neutral throttle because you've done the best that you can on the entry and you've done the best that you can on the exit. But the bottom line is there's still track in the middle there where you just can't go. You've got to wait. You've got to wait and maintain your speed for the exit. So again, there's corners that you will have some neutral throttle in, and that's just the way it is. That's okay. I'm actually giving you permission for that. That's fine. That's what the radius dictates. But the goal is, even in those big corners, is you can start to minimize, start thinking about, oh, did I have less neutral thought all the time or I didn't? So there you go, double apex corners. That'll give guys and gals some things to think about, and hopefully make your job a little bit easier on that one. Copyright 2019 Kent Hill Coaching, all rights reserved.